Attention bobsled riders! You will soon be embarking on a thrilling podcast down the icy slopes of the Matterhorn. So please remain seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the bobsled at all times. Auf Wiedersehen!
Hello, Yodelers! We are the Matterhorn Yodelers. I am Jackie. We have
Peter.
Japheth.
And it is the holiday season, one of my favorite seasons of the year.
Feels like it was just Halloween.
Right?
When was the last time we saw each other?
But today we're going to be talking about our experience working at the Disney World Park during the holiday season, the most magical time of the year. For guests, maybe.
Mostly. I mean, there are good moments as cast members during that time period, but for the most part, it's a nightmare.
It's miserable. Yeah, it is. It's tough. It's weird as a cast member when you're there for like longer than a year. You go through these cycles where you're like, oh, we got spring break. Here we go. Okay, spring break's over. Oh, here comes summer. And then summer goes, and then you're like, oh, here comes Christmas. So you're on this, like, roller coaster of, like, dreading the next, like, wave of people. So where
you got food and wine. Ooh.
Yeah, there's food and wine there.
We got the cheerleaders are in town.
Oh, Brazilian tour groups are here.
Yeah, so we want to start off with talking about our hours that you tend to work as an employee during the busy season.
Well, if you work college program like all of us, you always work the night shift. You always.
Not necessarily.
I can honestly tell you, I could probably count the amount of times I worked the morning shift on one hand.
I'm with you. During my college program time, I only, like, opened, like, 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, and most of that time was training.
See, for me it was different. So when I worked bell service, yes, I always got the closing shift. I was always the last one, usually. And then when I switched over to be front desk at Animal Kingdom, I always got the morning shift, the 4 or 5 in the morning shift, because nobody wanted that shift.
I can see that. You're like in a 24-hour operation where Peter and I, we were restricted to the park hours. And so, like, when I worked at Epcot during my college program at Mission Space, we closed at 9 o'clock consistently unless it was a holiday, like the day of. So I would work from like 3 to 9, and I would be out the door by 9:30 once everything's closed up. And so, yeah.
And I had roommates that also worked at resorts, and they were always working like the 3 o'clock in the morning shift. So.
Ooh.
Yeah, and they were quick service too. They were prepping for breakfast.
Quick service gotta be the worst job.
Yes, I remember when they were interviewing me for that. They're like, "I see here you just have attractions. Are you okay with quick service?" I was like, "No, I do not want quick service at all. Do not even nope. I will reject it."
And I learned from you because of that. They asked me the same question.
And I did the same thing too. They're like, oh, are you interested in quick service? Nope, I'm not.
Pass.
Because if you do put that you're interested in quick service...
Automatic,
you're in it.
And when I asked all the people who are CPs that did it, it's like, did you agree to that question? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, that's what happens.
Yep.
Let that be a lesson learned.
So, generally, you work late, work long hours, and you work you don't get too many days off, too, as a cast member.
Well, from what I remember, it seemed normal. I worked the same hours that I normally always did. Maybe a little bit longer hours, I would say. Because I think I remember there were a few times where I got a half-hour break instead of 15-minute ones.
Oh, yeah.
Every once in a while I'd get that half-hour break and be like, I can go down to the cafeteria and get something.
You know you're special when you get 2 half-hour breaks.
Oh, man.
I feel really spoiled because I got an hour break.
You probably had to go far for yours. Like, so depending where you were, gave you a longer lunch. Like at Epcot, so if you were like... the cafeteria was on the side where the cast entrance was. So if you're like in Paris, you gotta go all the way. You gotta take the bus all the way around. So they got longer lunches.
Yeah, well, it was like when I worked at the resorts, you got usually a half-hour lunch and then 2:15, and generally you got permission to combine the 2:15 breaks.
Oh, we couldn't do that.
No, not at attraction.
There's no negotiation.
There were some perks working at the resort.
I didn't know that happened.
Because Caribbean Beach doesn't have a cafeteria.
Okay.
Well, they do have a cafeteria, but it's pretty far in. Generally, you would never go to it.
Okay. Yeah, for like the hours I experienced, like for days off when I was full-time cast member, I got my 2 days off. So like I was off 1 year for Christmas, and I was like, I wanted to work, but no one's like, no, I don't like. I want to, like, because if I trade it, I won't get credit for holidays since it's your day off and not my day off. It was kind of tricky like that. But as a, like, full-time, yeah, I got my 2 days. But when it was a college program, I think I only got 1 day off that week. And, like, my hours were pretty close to, like, 50, maybe close to 60 hours.
It was weird when I was working bell service. This was when I was working during Christmas at the parks. And they gave me Christmas Eve and Christmas off.
Whoa.
Which was weird because I was like, I'm a college program.
You had nothing else to do.
I had nothing to do
That
because you couldn't go to the parks. And so I traded to work and people were happy because I traded it. But it was so weird that they gave me those days off.
I had Thanksgiving off, and all I did was just like, I didn't have, like, everybody else was working, so I just went to a Chinese restaurant, because I was like, well, they're always open, and sure enough, there was, like, 5 or 6 Chinese families sitting in there eating, and I was the lone guy just eating by myself.
Now I remember, I know I worked all of the holidays. I know I did that. I think that year they all landed on the extra magic hours.
Your park wasn't even open that late unless the extra magic hours were there. Weren't they, or did they vary back then?
I'm trying to think here. I think it was about 8 o'clock was our typical close time.
That's a dream.
But
that's Animal Kingdom.
That's Animal Kingdom status.
But well, back when I worked there, Animal Kingdom closed at like 6. So
the sun goes down.
Pretty much.
Leave the park.
The sun went down at Animal Kingdom and it was closed. Like, nothing stayed open.
That's usually like the dream park that everyone wants to work at because it closes early.
In that way, yes. Then you get your evenings.
But now, they're open late now. I mean, some of the attractions are closed, but they're open evenings now with Avatar Land, so...
Yeah, I wouldn't want to go on the safari at night. Glowing green eyes following you and the yips of the...
So, yes, so during the holiday season, yes, we work long hours, but there are some perks as cast members during the holiday seasons. They give you the big discount.
So yeah, they give you this holiday, like, discount, like, booklet.
Yes.
When I was there.
Yeah, there was a book.
And they themed it for, like, whatever movie came out, like, 50 or 60 years ago. Like, one year we had Cinderella, and then I forgot what one other year we had. But they would give you, like, a little ornament in the packet. But I remember they give you coupons, like, for eating out. You get a 50, a 40, and a 30.
Yes.
And then you get free soda and a popcorn. You get like 6 or 5 of them.
5 like free, and you get to choose like churro, popcorn, or pretzel.
Churro was not an option for me.
Well, we've already discussed churros in Florida is not a good option. Period.
It was just like popcorn and soda. That was your choice.
Pretty much.
You would save it. I mean, you didn't have to use it in that time period. You could use it throughout the year, but they had an expiration date of like a certain period, like October of the next year.
Yeah.
Because that's when the next one came out.
But then also you get a higher percentage off on merchandise.
Boy, did we. My first year, it was like 50% off.
Yeah.
I think for me, it was like 35.
Because normally I think you get around like 20% off.
Yes, the normal discount was 20% off.
And then I think for me it was like 50% off or around
I thought it got lowered for me. It got lowered down to like 40%.
It could be. You're right. It was 40% for me.
Like my first year was 50, and then like, oh, good times are here. All right, 2011. Okay, 40%.
Well, it was great because
it was about that. I think that sounds about right for me.
Yeah.
When I was there, so
it was great because like I knew about the big discount, and so as a cast member, you're like, I want this merchandise, I want this merchandise, and this merchandise, and you wait until the bigger
discount. You scout it out.
Out.
You're like, okay, I want this. I need a game for this. I need to save for here because that's during your college program. Like all your Christmas presents. Like I look back and their mom and dad's place. I'm like, oh yeah, I got them that. No, I got that.
Absolutely. Like I bought so many statues. That's what I bought, like mom and dad.
I bought you the one statue, the partner statue.
Yep, you bought me that one for Christmas. I bought our grandmother I actually bought two. One for me, and then one for my grandmother was the statue of Mickey painting a self-portrait, but he's actually drawing Walt Disney.
Yeah, the Norman Rockwell painting.
But it's a statue.
Yes.
I had bought two of them, one for my grandmother and one for me, and now I have two, which they're both at my parents' house because my kids cannot be trusted.
And I've learned something about that where I've got a Haunted Mansion replica, and from the Haunted Mansion I used to work at, and I had it out, and now my child is walking, and now it's boxed up, and it's buried away. There's no way my child's ever... And I'm pretty much not going to see it for 20 years.
Pretty much, yeah.
But yeah, the discount isn't very nice as a cast member. You live for those discounts and the food coupons, and I know that for me and my other coworkers, we would group our food, the dining coupons off, and so that way we would all dine together.
Oh, you're smart.
And we would eat at a ton of different restaurants, sharing our coupons, and then we would just like pay each other back through like Venmo or Chase.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, I was a loner. I just went out and ate.
I think most of mine were spent when you and mom and dad came.
Yes.
To visit, and then I think I went, and I regret going here, but this is where everyone wanted to go. They wanted to go to Planet Hollywood. Downtown Disney. It was garbage, bad food, but I
hear the remodel was better.
Is it even there anymore?
It's still there.
They remodeled it.
It's not a giant globe anymore.
It is interesting being in there, and you're just like in this sphere.
Yeah, it's weird. And
see the Rocketeer flying in there. Yeah, I think I'm trying to remember where I ate. I ate at the French Pavilion for one of mine, and you don't have to use your coupons in that time period. You can use them throughout that year.
Yeah, usually you get the coupons and they last until like February. That's usually when they expire.
But for me, I only did a short trip there, so I had to use mine before January.
Yeah,
before I came home.
So, Peter, how would you explain how crowded it was at the park?
It depended. So like, I remember for starting at Thanksgiving, because honestly, that's the start of that whole crowded time period. So like, the Thanksgiving weekend, it was busy. You know, Tower Terror had lines up to, I'd probably say about 2 hours.
Woo!
Yep. And the thing is about the Florida Tower Terror, that line moves. That is an efficient line that moves.
I have to say, I'm never like miserable in that line, except when you're in the boiler room. That's the only time when you're like time does like slow down a bit, but it moves.
It is a pretty consistently moving ride. So like line, yeah, you would hear stuff that like the line for Fantasmic would like go all the way down Sunset Boulevard, all the way to the entrance of the theme park, and loop back down Sunset Boulevard, and eventually they would tell people, it's like, if you're not at this point, you're not getting in the show.
Pretty much.
And this would be like hours before they let anyone in. It'd be like, if you're not at this point, you're not going to make it in. So like, that would be the start. of the busy season.
So
Thanksgiving week/weekend, and then the next 2 weeks the park would die. Like,
it would go quiet.
It would go so quiet, like you wouldn't be able to find a line longer than 30 minutes. At least when I was there in 2006.
It does get quiet, but also the cheerleading group happens during that
They do have a
time
competition.
frame.
I think they know that this is a good time to go. And it's before the holidays. And yeah.
So you have to deal with a lot of screamers, especially at a screaming attraction.
Yeah, I didn't. I never really dealt with that.
I did.
Attractions.
Oh,
yeah,
so much. Like you can hear those girls screaming throughout the entire building when they're on that ride.
You can hear them down like Santa Monica. Those screams.
Yeah, they are so loud. So you got like that time period, and then it's like the calm before the storm, because then when you hit like the week of Christmas, it's crazy.
It's like 21st or 20th till like March 3rd. Or not March 3rd. No, sorry, January. January 3rd. That's when it changes.
Yeah. Generally, you just want to avoid the park during that time, but
there's something fun being around everyone in that time period. There's this chaotic excitement being there when it's super crowded that I find. So I didn't mind it too much, but I didn't really stay in the park long.
So the longest I had ever seen my attractions line was it went all the way down Sunset Boulevard and made it, I think I was told it went about halfway back down.
So what's the time?
I don't remember. So it's been a long time, so I don't remember the time frame on all.
So when I was at Mission Space, normal time, they would say 40 minutes, but really it was 25 minutes.
That's a little tip. Don't always trust the board. The board is meant to make you feel better when you actually get off the ride, because you're like, oh, it said 40 minutes, but we only waited 30.
Yeah, it's usually quicker. So usually we're 25 minutes. It's very rare that we hit 40. Maybe there was a peak time during the day it would hit that. So at Mission Space, it would be 25 minutes, but during the holidays, I swear it was it had to be 2.5 hours.
Ooh.
Right? Mission Space
that
is
sounds about right.
It's
a ride that should have been the ride, but it's not.
Oh, it's not.
No, because you're dealing with motion sickness, and a lot of people do not like motion sickness.
I think I've been on that ride 5 times. Every time I rode by, I was like, "Oh boy."
That's probably about it. It's one of those things.
I'm the opposite. Love that ride. I can ride it a ton.
I ride it once, and I have to take a good 2-hour break. And that's actually how I learned to appreciate Epcot.
Yeah.
Was on that 2-hour break, I would just find a bench and just sit there at World Showcase and just enjoy the atmosphere. And that's how I fell in love with that park.
Boy, I miss Epcot for that.
Oh, I love that. Even though, right now, it's a disaster park in its current state, but, I still think it holds a special magic place.
I think so. Yeah, the lines just... They go man, I remember Peter Pan normally was an hour. It'd be 3 hours. And Space Mountain's 4 hours.
Why is Peter Pan 3 hours? It just makes no sense to me. The ride is a minute long.
And the thing is, over in Florida, it's an Omnimover. It's always loading.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have that stop and go at Disneyland, but it's always loading. But yet, it is always... It's a consistent 60 minutes throughout the year until maybe 11 o'clock, and then it's down to 20 minutes.
Maybe.
In my opinion, and this might be an unpopular opinion, but the Disney World Peter Pan is definitely the worst Peter Pan.
Have you been on there with the new queue?
I haven't. Well, I'm not talking about queues. I'm talking about the ride.
The queue pumps you up, man.
The queue is great.
But I'm not going to wait 3 hours in line just to look at the queue.
Okay, I'll get to that point. Yeah.
The ride is just it's cool. It's got the 2 seats, right? It's a double seater, so it's more capacity than the Disneyland one. But I think the audio quality is not as good. Captain Hook, the audio for Captain Hook makes me go, that doesn't sound right.
Okay.
So it always throws me out. I wrote a review on the Peter Pan ride back when I was working. I wrote reviews to people who who I thought wanted to hear updates, and I would give reviews and comparisons, and one of them was a Peter Pan comparison, and I definitely ripped Peter Pan a new one. It was a very negative review. Most of my reviews were super negative when it came to what I thought of Disney World attractions.
Well, you're young, and when
That's
you're
true.
young, you're
It's
very,
true.
like, everyone becomes a little cynical, and you want to destroy things. It's a very destructive time period for men and stuff.
I remember I was reading it recently. I was like, man, that was brutal.
It's like, that was mean.
Like,
I should write an apology letter.
Haunted Mansion, I had not nice things to say about Haunted Mansion. Granted, this was before their refurbishment.
No giant spiders.
They had giant shaky spiders before, which just looked horrendous. So people like to complain about the staircase now, and I'm like, no, that's nothing compared to what was there before.
All right, Jackie, bring us back.
Yeah,
Bring us back.
so-
I'm taking us off topic. Let's circle
my
back
guest
there.
experience with crowds was very different compared to both of yours, because you both worked in the parks and dealt with long rides. I dealt with guests before and after the parks, which, before they're going to the park, we had, as far as bell service, luggage room was full, delay luggage, at least, 4 to 6 hours on top of that 2 hours.
So would you give them a tip? What would be your tip, knowing that it's 6 hours before their luggage even gets to their room? What advice do you give to guests coming during the holidays? Because I think this would be very important for you to share.
So my tip is, if you are traveling to the Disney World park during the holiday season,
Or spring break, or any kind of peak time period.
any peak busy time period, if you are flying in the morning and planning to go to the park
Or competition.
that same day, and you don't need anything out of your luggage, use Magical Express, the tickets, and we'll deliver it to your room. But if you're planning to, if you're coming in at 9 o'clock at night, and you put those yellow tags on your suitcase, you're not going to see it until closer to midnight, unfortunately. So, you could definitely bring your bag, store it under the bus, and take it with you, so that way it's with you. You just have to pick it up at the luggage circle at the airport.
That's not horrible.
It's not bad, so. Generally, if you're going to the park right after, you don't want to deal with your luggage, that's what's the purpose of the yellow tags and, of us delivering your luggage. But if you want items in your bag right away when you get off the bus, take it with you.
Okay, that's a good tip.
So definitely, there's always a highway on luggage, check-in, getting rooms cleaned, and then also a long wait for buses getting back from the park and to the park.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. How the guests would be responding to the waits for buses to get to the
They're so
resort.
long. I remember hearing the radio calls for monorail and the boats for Magic Kingdom. People are waiting an hour after the park closes.
Yes, and so...
Or after fireworks or parade. That is usually peak time when people are leaving.
Yeah, definitely during the holiday season, bus waits are long, and, during my time, I worked at Caribbean Beach, which was, it was just a big resort, and to get to different parts of the resorts, you have to take a bus.
Yep.
And so, buses are delayed, break down, or at full capacity. Sometimes we'll skip a stop if the bus is full. And so...
Can't be like the weirdo song, no one gets on, no one gets on, no one gets on the bus. Hey,
It's going to sit by you.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah, but again, lines for the bus are late, and so I remember a guest comes and asks me, they're like, it was the week of Christmas, right? And they're like, I want to get into Magic Kingdom on Christmas. How early should I get to the park?
It usually closes at 11 or 12. They usually start phasing.
Yeah, because you'll hit capacity early. And so I would say, well, buses run an hour before. Make sure you're on that first bus.
Yeah, because that's hard.
First bus comes an hour before. Make sure you're at that bus an hour before then.
If not, you're going to end up spending your Christmas at Animal Kingdom. Everyone wants to be at Magic Kingdom. Everybody.
Everyone wants to go to Magic Kingdom on Christmas.
Magic Kingdom.
I would rather go to Epcot on Christmas.
And Epcot actually has a higher capacity.
Yeah.
And so I
think it's far more relaxing, and it has more of the Christmas spirit.
Yeah, because you have Christmas around the world.
Correct.
Yes. I would actually do... I would do it at Epcot, and I would also do New Year's at Epcot. New Year's at Epcot is crazy. You also have alcohol involved, and the park is open super late, and there's so many people. It is, I don't remember the past, but it is a lot, and they always push it.
And now they've really jumped, other than this year, they're not doing anything this year.
They're not fully capacity? Well, now there is a capacity. Yeah, there really is a capacity. They can only have so many people in the park.
Right. But, years past, and most recent years past, they do tons of dance parties of the silent dance party where they give you headphones and you're dancing and
that wasn't there for me.
Yeah,
that sounds cool.
Yeah. So they have different DJs that come, and it's a New Year's at Epcot. That's where you want to be if you want to party.
I just remember when I was working New Year's, at the then MGM Studios. I know it's Hollywood Studios now, but the MGM Studios.
Back in my
day, it was called by a different name. Nobody was at our attraction when we were at the countdown. And so, I think I was working load, so I was loading people into the elevator. Well, there was nobody to load because everyone was waiting for the fireworks to start. And so, when the fireworks started, there's a little cast member door.
Quiet before the storm.
The quiet. Well, you can go jump outside for a second because there's a door right there. You can jump outside for a quick minute, and I got to see fireworks from all three parks.
That's pretty cool because you're at a very high.
Because we were at a higher point, we were halfway up the building, off of the tower building, and the way the tower was positioned, I could look left to see the MGM Studios fireworks. I can look right to see Epcot, and then way off in the distance, I could see Magic Kingdom's fireworks going on.
That's really cool.
So that was a cool experience I got to have.
That's really the only place
and I
you
get
really
to go. I run in and out just to make sure there were no guests coming in. I'm just oh, okay, there's none. Okay, oh, look at all the
that's some
fireworks.
safety issues right there.
Totally.
Now, one tip I want to mention is if you don't want to go to the park at Christmas, the resorts will do special events. So different resorts will have special meet and greets with Goofy, Mickey, different meet and greets. They'll have set up, decorate cookies, and generally these events are free.
Oh wow!
That's
rare.
That was my understanding that a lot of those special events, they'll do free things at the resort to kind of lure people away from the parks. So that they can...
And also for those guests that couldn't get into Magic Kingdom in the morning and they're waiting until they can get in the evening.
They got something to do.
They don't end up going to SeaWorld. Or Planet
Legoland.
Yeah.
They take a trip down the 4 down to Tampa. Go to Legoland.
But another thing with the holiday season is the Christmas recording.
Oh, yes.
And the Christmas party.
I'm not a fan of the Christmas party.
The Christmas party is not that great.
It is flat in comparison to Halloween.
Instead of treat trails and free candy, they give you cookies.
Cookies and cocoa.
Cookies and cocoa, which after the first cookie and cocoa, you get tired of it.
You're after the fifth stop, you're oh, these are the same cookies.
I will say this. I had one of the most magical moments of my life at a Christmas party, at the Disney World Christmas party.
So who'd you get a kiss from?
Yeah. So I was there with a bunch of coworkers. We all went together for the Christmas party, and to set the stage, I'm wearing a Darth Vader shirt at the time, and we're watching the Christmas parade, and we're all just talking, and it's fun because a a lot of the people in the parade and the characters were interacting with us because we were in like the perfect location right in front of the Country Bear Jamboree. That's where like the characters really like interact with the crowd.
And that's where they start. They just start at Splash Mountain.
At Splash Mountain is where the parade starts. And so like Santa's coming down, and I say to everyone like, and Santa's talking, and I go, I wonder if that Santa is a recording or if that's actually him. And then he looks down at me and he goes, Darth Vader! Ho, ho, ho! And I was all like, this is amazing! It's Santa!
Of course it's Santa.
Of course, Santa knows you.
He called me out at the parade.
Yeah, so Christmas party's fun.
There's some cool characters. Like, you got a great picture with the 7 dwarfs.
All of them.
That was not at the Christmas party.
Oh.
That was actually at a DCP party.
Okay. I actually took pictures with the 7 dwarfs and got them all in one picture at a Christmas party.
I normally hear about it at a Christmas party.
And that's why I did that.
Yes. What about the Christmas recording?
Never went.
I've
never saw it.
I've been to it. All my opinion is it's very hot.
It's like October.
It's November.
It's November because Halloween's down.
It's true.
Halloween's got to be down. So they normally do it like very beginning of November.
And it's just hot.
Oh yeah, it's still hot.
It's so hot, and like they'll ask cast members to be a part of like different crowd recordings, and like the Christmas parade is actually filmed before the park opens, and only cast members and families are invited to that.
I don't remember that.
Nope, I wasn't.
I worked mornings, and I never like no.
Yep. So that's what happened when I was there.
So when I was there, Justin Bieber performed, and this was like 2011, and Justin Bieber was still
prime,
young guy, and very popular, and I just remember all the teenagers were just like, have you seen Justin Bieber here yet? I'm like, no, I was at Haunted Mansion, so I could be really snooty about, like, he could die for all I care, you know, it's very mean, you know, like, oh, I've got a grave ready for him, you know, like, so I'd say it's like things like that, but you knew when he was in the park, because you'd hear screams throughout the day at different parts of the park. And he was there. He was playing in the park. He went in the Haunted Mansion. And, like, you know, you hear the stretch room. And so he went into the foyer. Or the foyer. And, like, he was sitting there. And he's all, like, laying on the floor. Because they, like, cleared it out. And gave him his own, like, personal stretch room.
He laid on the floor?
And he laid on the floor. And the butler was like, dude, this isn't the room. And he's just like, oh, okay. And like he gets up and he goes to the stretch room and he lays on the floor because he's the only one allowed in there. Usually you could stick like 90 people in there. But he had his own private stretch and he's like laying on the floor. And the butler was in there going like, it's so gross because I know how many kids have thrown up pee in that spot or that area. And he's just laying there and he's like, I'm not going to tell because he looks like an idiot laying on the floor and he deserves what he gets. And so it's just like there's fun little moments. You get the celebrities that come in and yeah, Justin Bieber certainly had fun. He actually injured like Goofy. He jumped on his back and Goofy got a bad back from it.
Oh.
Yeah, things. I have some friends who were in the entertainment and they would like say things like I had a friend that was gingerbread when Mariah Carey was there and she was being a diva. She didn't show up for like 4 hours and people were like passing out and you just see this gingerbread slumped over and the costumes are hot and they're usually only in there for like 40 minutes max outside, and these people are outside for like 2-3 hours in costume in Florida, where it's like 80 degrees, 90 degrees. It's just
be kind to the characters.
Yeah, friends with people.
Friends with characters.
Yes.
Be kind to them. Be kind to all those characters. They work hard.
Super hard. And
it's not an easy job.
No, not at all. So yeah, those were the experiences where it's just like, just misery with those performances, with the Christmas Day parade and the shows and the logistics. It was, as cast members, we dreaded that because there was extra work that had to go into it.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap it up with the last question is, J5th, how was it enjoying the park as a guest during the holiday season?
Loved it. Oh, nothing better. Like, just Christmas and the park.
It's the best.
It's the best. I mean, Disneyland's, it feels like a second home for Christmas. Like, in our family, it is.
We always go during that
It's
time.
just, like, Christmas explodes. You throw a Christmas grenade in our parents' place, and it's like, boom, everywhere. Like, Christmas And, like, when you take it down, it looks like a Russian gulag or something. Like, it's just nothing there.
Just
like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So, going there, it's nice. It's crisp and colder at Disney World, like, in the morning. So, it reminds me of kind of, like, the Arizona kind of, like, winters, and I love it. I loved being in the park, and you hear the music, and there's certain foods that you can get during that time period.
My favorite thing is the Cinderella Castle.
Oh, Disney
The
World.
lighting of the castle is so beautiful, and it's so sad after Christmas, or after New Year's, when they take it down, you're like, it's so naked and bare.
I feel sorry for the people in October that get married, because they always have a crane that's, like, up there. So if you're getting married, don't do it in October, because you're going to have a giant crane in your picture of Cinderella's castle.
Well, from my understanding, those lights probably will not be coming back.
Say what?
Yeah, because they're now doubling down on projection mapping, because it's cheaper than installing all those lights every single year. And as of right now, Disney's in a cutting the budget mindset right now. So
I loved it.
So because like this year there are no lights on the castle. It's all projection mapping lights, which it looks cool, but it's not the same. It's not the same.
Like the glistening and the flickering, the twinkle. Yeah, I just loved it. Oh, that was. They bring up the castle because that's a good memory. I like taking pictures in front of there. Now we're going to end on a sad note. Justin Bieber laying in puke and Cinderella Castle never having another twinkle again.
I've got another sad note.
Oh, good. No.
One of my favorite parts of the holidays was in my park, in the MGM Studios, was the Oswald lights that they had on in the backlot tour area, where they decorated the entire backlot in crazy Christmas lights, and they jammed out to the dancing lights. They
got rid of it.
They got rid of it.
We got a fun picture of us there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was a great picture.
It was so much fun. Like, I went on a cast member preview day, so like we got to go in our costumes, so we were all wearing our bellhop costumes. We went right after our shift.
Oh, that's so cool.
And like we even did like this whole little like show, the bellhops, where we were like dancing to the lights, and we actually got a crowd of people watching us in our bellhop costumes.
You guys probably would have been like,
we loved it.
You guys probably would have like been YouTube famous for that little like dance.
Little
early. Everyone bust out their like camcorders,
right?
The Osmond show reminds me of my favorite shift I worked at Disney World, and that was because it was the only shift I worked in the park and not at a resort, was because I was working an event for the cheerleading group. I worked the last year they had the Osmond show.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yep, I was there for the last year they worked the Osmond show. And the cheerleading group, they rent out Hollywood Studios. And
thank goodness you weren't there for that shift. Oh, that would suck.
Yeah.
Yes. And, I was just there to, like, crowd control, let people in, stuff like that. But basically, they really only needed me at the beginning of the letting people in and cleaning out the park at the end. So in the middle, I had nothing to do, and the reason why I loved the shift, because I forgot my name tag.
Were you Pat from Auburndale? That was a generic tag that we had. Like, you could get away with anything, because everyone's Pat from Auburndale.
Yeah, so I had a fake badge on, and the person that was over me, my lead, never saw my lead, didn't know who I was, didn't know where I came from, And so I could get away with murder, but...
Jeez.
And that's why there's a dead body in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. One cheerleader too many, let me tell you.
No, but it was just great because I could I just got to enjoy the Osmond lights the entire shift.
That's cool. You got like one hurrah for everything.
And I was standing at the front of like Osmond Lights, where like the Lights Motor Action show was, in that area.
Making references to like nothing left in that part.
Right. It's like
Hollywood Tower Terror, Santa Monica Boulevard are the only things we've referenced.
Right. So like now that's Toy Story Land, is what you're referencing.
Is it Toy Story or Star Wars?
No, it's Toy Story.
It's Toy Story.
Most of Star Wars was backstage.
Gotcha. Yeah, but that was one of my favorite shifts because I got to enjoy the lights. It was my first and last time working in the park, and there was no like responsibility to that shift either. So, yeah.
Crowd control. There's good crowd control, and then there's bad. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That could be another discussion another day.
All right, well, that's all the time we have about working during the holiday season. Let us know if you have any questions about our experiences or as a guest of going to the parks during the holiday.
Tips. We can give tips for individual. We couldn't do a whole episode on tips during the holiday. It's fairly similar.
Yeah.
But it's just there are some little tips here and there if you want.
Share your tips on our Facebook page.
Yes.
And our Instagram.
Yep, you can follow us on our Instagram, Facebook. You can email us at matterhornyielders@gmail.com. We are now on Podchaser, which it's another podcast platform.
Sounds like a Star Wars pod racer game.
I actually just bought that game.
Oh, exciting.
It's an easy way to review us. Also, if you listen on Spotify, you can send us a voice message.
Cool.
Yes. So we want to hear from you on your thoughts. And that's all we have for you. Have a magical day.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Matterhorn Yodelers. Please remember, before your bobsled comes to a complete stop, to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And remember...
Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.